Trump's own party is turning on him, and it's happening faster than anyone predicted. This isn't Democrats scheming in back rooms. This isn't the media spinning a narrative. This is Republicans, on camera, on record, blocking him at every single turn. And today, it escalated in ways that should have every American paying close attention. Let's start with the war. In a stunning 50-47 vote, the United States Senate, including Republican senators, passed a war powers resolution to block Donald Trump from continuing military operations in Iran. Read that sentence again. His own party, voting against him, on a war that he launched without a clear congressional authorization and without a clear exit strategy. This isn't a procedural footnote. This is one of the most significant congressional rebukes of a sitting president in modern memory. The War Powers Resolution doesn't just send a message, it puts the constitutional authority over military force back where the founders intended it, with Congress, not with one man in the Oval Office. Democratic Congressman Jim Himes, the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee, says they already have the Republican votes lined up to pass a matching resolution in the House. Even Congressman Jared Golden from Maine, who has repeatedly broken with Democrats on key votes, is expected to support this one. If that happens, both chambers of Congress will have formally told the President of the United States, this war needs to stop. Trump can still veto it. And knowing this president, he probably will. But here's why that veto still matters. It forces every single member of Congress on record. It forces a public declaration of where each of them stands, and it sends an unmistakable signal to the American people, to our allies, and to the world, that this is not a war with unified American support. Far from it. This war has cost lives, it has cost billions, and according to members of both parties, it should never have been started. Before we go further, if you're not subscribed yet, do it right now. Hit that button. We're pushing towards 7 million subscribers, and we cover the stories that the mainstream media buries or softens. Don't miss a single update. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never fall behind. Now let's talk about the story that, honestly, should be front-page news on every outlet in America right now, and somehow isn't getting the attention it deserves. Donald Trump filed a $10 billion personal lawsuit against the IRS and the Treasury Department. His claim? Emotional distress. Because his 2019 tax returns were leaked, along with the tax returns of approximately 450,000 other Americans, by a contractor, none of whom filed lawsuits, because legal experts across the political spectrum say there is simply no valid legal claim to be made here. Let's be very clear about what that means. This is a lawsuit that independent legal analysts, including those within the IRS itself, who prepared a 25-page internal memorandum, described as frivolous. The IRS advised the Justice Department to move immediately to dismiss it. There are statute of limitations problems. There are immunity problems. There is no valid cause of action under any established legal standard. And yet, instead of dismissing it, the Trump administration's Justice Department entered into a settlement worth $1.8 billion, in taxpayer money, with no congressional authorization, no oversight, no public vote. But it gets worse. Buried inside this settlement is a clause that says Donald Trump can never be audited again, and another clause that grants him exemption from past tax liabilities, meaning any back taxes he may owe, potentially hundreds of millions, potentially billions, simply disappear. Gone. Written off. Paid by you. And who gets the money from this fund? The structure is deliberately vague, but the intent is not. January 6th participants, Trump allies, people who stormed the Capitol, attacked police officers, and tried to overturn a free and fair election. They would be eligible to file claims from this $1.8 billion pool of your tax dollars. Republicans, even deeply conservative ones, are furious. Pennsylvania Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, a frontline Republican in a competitive district, walked up to our camera and said it plainly. We're going to try to kill it. When pressed on the audit exemption clause, he said, "You can't do that. Of course that has to be part of the legislative fix." Republican Congressman David Schweikert said he has deep concerns and genuinely doesn't understand how the fund is even structurally legal. Another Republican congressman said flatly, he doesn't know why anyone who participated in January 6th should receive a single taxpayer dollar. And then came Todd Blanche, Trump's own Attorney General, who went on CNN and, when asked whether taxpayers would be okay with their money going to people who attacked and injured police officers on January 6th, said, and I want you to hear this carefully, that yes, Americans would support this, that people who are investigated by the government always feel they were treated unfairly and deserve compensation. The CNN anchor could barely contain her reaction. Neither could anyone watching. Because here's the punchline that makes this even more surreal. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO, one of Trump's most visible allies, has already filed a claim against this fund for $400 million. His argument? That government investigations damaged his brand. Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio has filed for $2.5 million. The feeding frenzy has already begun, and the fund hasn't even been officially established yet. Republicans in Congress see the writing on the wall. They know their constituents, and right now their constituents are asking one question. Why are my tax dollars going to insurrectionists? Now let's talk about the billion-dollar ballroom that just died, and how it died. Donald Trump ordered the demolition of the East Wing of the White House. In its place, he proposed a lavish golden ballroom, a $1 billion renovation that he initially wanted funded through a federal budget reconciliation bill. When that faced immediate backlash, the project was quietly rebranded. Suddenly, the Golden Ballroom wasn't a ballroom anymore. According to Trump, it was a drone empire, a cutting-edge defensive shield against drones and ballistic missiles, complete with an on-site emergency medical facility. Republicans didn't buy it for a single second. The Senate's non-partisan parliamentarian ruled that the $1 billion ballroom provision violates the Byrd Rule, the budget rule that prevents unrelated spending items from sneaking into reconciliation bills. Democrats formally challenged it. And when House Republicans gathered for their caucus lunch, the decision was swift and unanimous. We're not funding this. We never were. It's gone. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, a Republican who Trump has been trying to politically destroy after Cassidy voted to convict him during impeachment, showed up to the microphone and delivered the most devastating critique with the calmest possible voice. There are no architectural plans, no environmental reviews, no engineering assessments. When we asked how it costs exactly $1 billion, there's no answer. It could cost far less. It could cost far more. I just don't get it. That is a sitting United States Senator, a Republican, saying on camera that a project personally championed by the president of his own party makes absolutely no sense and deserves no funding. And Cassidy went further, posting publicly, "People are concerned about paying their mortgage, affording groceries, paying for gas, not about a $1.8 billion fund for the president and his allies with no legal precedent and no accountability. This adds to our national debt. If there needs to be a settlement, bring it to Congress." The ballroom is dead. The slush fund is under siege. And the Republicans who are fighting back aren't moderates looking for media attention. They're conservatives who've simply had enough. Here's the part of this story that is somehow getting almost no national attention, and it may be the most politically explosive development of all. Donald Trump just endorsed Ken Paxton, the impeached, scandal-plagued Texas Attorney General, for the United States Senate. And the polls that followed have sent shockwaves through Republican Party leadership. Democrat James Tallarico is currently leading Paxton by 4 points in Texas. Texas, a state Republicans have won in every presidential election since 1980. Let's put that in context. In 2018, Beto O'Rourke ran what was considered the most energized Democratic Senate campaign in Texas in a generation. He had national fundraising records, he had celebrity endorsements, he had wall-to-wall media coverage. And at this exact same point in that election cycle, Ted Cruz was still leading him by 7 points. Tallarico isn't trailing. He's ahead, and analysts who have reviewed every Texas Senate race going back over 2 decades say he is polling better than any Democrat in at least 24 years, at this stage of a campaign. The difference? Ken Paxton. Where Ted Cruz had a net favorability of positive 7 points among Texas Republicans, Ken Paxton is sitting at -7, 14 points of difference. He is one of the most unpopular Senate nominees his own party has fielded in recent memory, and Trump just staked his endorsement on him. Republican senators and Congress members are watching this race with visible alarm. Because if Texas flips, even just this one Senate seat, the entire political map for 2026 changes overnight. And many of them are now asking, quietly but seriously, whether Trump's endorsement strategy is designed to help Republicans win, or whether something else entirely is going on. And while Washington tears itself apart over ballrooms and slush funds, there is a genuine national emergency unfolding that is receiving almost no coverage. Right now, more than 60% of the United States is experiencing drought conditions. More than 20% of the country is classified as being in extreme drought. Colorado, Georgia, Florida, the Southeast, and large portions of the Rocky Mountain region are among the hardest hit areas, with some zones now designated under the most severe classification, exceptional drought. Climatologists are describing this as one of the most severe and geographically widespread drought events the country has seen in decades. The primary driver is an unusual La Niña weather pattern that has shifted storm tracks far to the north, starving huge portions of the country of the rainfall they depend on for agriculture, drinking water, and ecosystem health. But here's the part that makes this more than a weather story. Rising global temperatures are actively making this worse. Warmer air pulls moisture out of soil and vegetation at dramatically accelerated rates, meaning even when rain does fall, the land absorbs less of it. Crops are under stress. Water reservoirs are dropping, and experts say meaningful relief is unlikely before late summer, and potentially not until a major El Niño pattern shift next winter. The Trump administration has made the deliberate choice to pull back from climate science and climate policy. That is their political decision to make. But droughts do not check party registration. Dry soil doesn't wait for a policy reversal. And the 60% of this country currently living under drought conditions doesn't have the luxury of treating this as an abstract debate. This story deserves front-page coverage. It deserves lead story status on every evening news broadcast. The fact that it doesn't, that it's being drowned out by political chaos, is itself part of the crisis. So here is exactly where things stand today. The Senate has voted to end Trump's Iran war, and the House is expected to follow. The $1.8 billion slush fund, designed to funnel taxpayer money to Trump allies and January 6th participants, is facing coordinated Republican resistance and may not survive. The Golden Ballroom has been stripped from the federal budget, permanently. In Texas, a Democrat is leading a Trump-endorsed candidate in a race that could redefine American politics. And across 60% of this country, a historic drought is intensifying, in silence. The cracks in Trump's political coalition are no longer hairline fractures. They are visible, they are widening, and today, they are on the record. This is what independent media looks like. No corporate filters, no advertiser pressure, no stories killed because they're inconvenient. Just facts, context, and the truth, delivered every single day. If this video gave you something real, share it. One share puts this in front of someone who needs to see it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one, and your voice shapes what we cover next. And if you want to go deeper, join our channel membership for ad-free videos, exclusive content, and early access. The link is right below this video. We're almost at 7 million. Let's get there together. See you in the next one.